morning, Eastern Caribbean. Welcome to another Creole Heartbeat program as we continue in our wonderful series. So far, we have really delved into the cracks and crevices of the World Creole Music Festival from inception. Remember, the World Creole Music Festival commenced or started in 1997. We have a very special program this morning, and we really would like to thank the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank for actually accepting our invitation to Creole Heartbeat. Our objective, as usual, is to continue to educate, and we really want to wish a hearty welcome to our esteemed guests who are already in St. Vincent, as a matter of fact, St. Kitts, Basta, St. Kitts. And let's say good morning to Stephanie Pascal and Risa Findlay. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, all.
Okay, good morning, and how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. How are
Oh,
you?
I'm doing pretty okay, and that's Stephanie speaking.
All right.
Okay,
Hi,
I'm not
good
quite
morning, and this is
hearing clearly,
Rita.
so I guess some adjustments need to be made on from our end. But are you hearing me loud and clear?
Yes, we are. Yeah. You're hearing
Okay,
us
great.
fine?
So we are going to have a friendly conversation on the Creole Heartbeat, really the true pulse of the nation. And we are live on DBS Radio, also DBS Radio Facebook page and DBS Radio YouTube channel. And just before we delve into our meat of the matter, can you tell our listeners which Caribbean island are you from originally, and how long have you been working with the ECCB? And any one of you can start.
Okay, good morning, all. Good morning to your listeners. My name is Risa Findlay, and I am from Grenada. I've been with the bank for the past going on 5 years, almost 5 years now.
Hi, and my name is Stephanie Pascal. I am from the Commonwealth of Dominica, and I only started working with the bank a year ago.
Okay. Over the past 5 years, how has the orange economy contributed to jobs, business creation, and overall growth in the OECS?
Okay, yeah, so that's an important question. Now, in terms of the orange economy or the creative economy, as we would also refer to it really presents a substantial opportunity for the ECCU to stimulate growth, create diverse employment opportunities, and foster new businesses, and of course, build economic resilience by tapping into the creativity of its citizens as well as its unique cultural assets. Now, comprehensive data is lacking to provide a granular measure of how the creative economy have contributed across the dimensions that you mentioned. However, we do see the orange economy as a critical pillar in advancing growth in the region in years to come.
Absolutely. And in terms of among the sectors, such festivals as music, heritage, fashion, culinary arts, and film, which of those sectors have shown the greatest economic impact thus far?
Okay, so it is a bit difficult to compare which sector has had the greatest impact. As the research done in the region tend to focus on festivals in particular, and a lot of the research are a bit dated as well. But we came across one study that examined the economic impact of festivals in the Caribbean and what contribution it has made to the economy of the member states. And the researcher investigated basically 6 festivals across the Caribbean, right? So we looked at St. Lucia Jazz, St. Kitts Music Festival, Trinidad Carnival, as well as Barbados Crop Over. And the study found that these festivals has had a significant impact on the tourism sector in particular, in terms of generating new tourism demand and creating a new tourism season, thereby filling a void in the tourism calendar. Study has also found that it boosts airlift as well as increased hotel accommodation occupancy levels.
Excellent. And this is exciting news for us in the OECS. The orange economy, real contribution to GDP. And when we look at foreign exchange, community development, Tell us the real contribution of those areas to GDP.
Okay, so if you, in order to provide that information, we cannot provide it for the ECCU as a whole, right? But I can use specific countries as examples. All right, so for example, but let me first start off by stating how we measure its contribution to GDP,
Yes.
right? So in terms of our real GDP, the orange economy is proxied by an industry called arts, entertainment, and recreation. And for example, what is captured there would be things like the World Creole Music Festival, the Jazz and Creole, and Mass Dominique. Those would be captured there. So in Dominica's case, over the period 2019 to 2024, this industry actually grew, right?
Wow.
So on average, it grew by about 4.1% and contributed to just under 1% to real economic activity. We also look at another industry called other services that captures the activities of hairstylists and barbers and makeup artists and nail technicians as well. And we also capture some activities under the information and communication, where we look at activities such as publishing and motion picture, video and television, song recording, etc.
Okay, excellent. In what ways do festivals create opportunities for small businesses, let's say vendors, service providers, and youth employment?
Okay, so in terms of the opportunities, now the festivals, so say for example, we're looking at the Creole Festival, it to provide a critical income surge for MSMEs, right? And they can do so through direct jobs. For example, jobs for event staff, stage builders, securities, and the artists, right? And also indirectly through jobs in transportation and hospitality, with the food vendors, the local artisans, all stand to benefit. It also provides a platform for brand exposure, right? So small businesses can introduce their product or their service to an audience that they may not have otherwise had access to. It can also provide an opportunity for network, right? So small business owners can network with other vendors or suppliers, as well as potential partners, leading to collaboration and opportunities. So for example, a caterer may be able to secure a contract with an event organizer for future events, or a local printer may also get an opportunity to print marketing materials for future events. Now, in terms of youth employment, the festivals would typically create high demand for short-term as well as part-time jobs. And these roles may be ideal for young persons that are looking to gain valuable job experience. So they can take on roles such as being ushers or information booth assistants or staff, kitchen staff at festivals, at local restaurants or food stalls, etc. And this, of course, would allow them to gain practical skills in things like customer service, in teamwork, in problem solving, and event management. And then this can be a first step towards them launching a career in the creative field or whatever industry they choose to go into. And finally, I'd say that festivals can also offer a low risk way to test a business idea. So, for example, a young person can create a business plan to maybe sell a unique product, such as a hand painted t shirt or some sort of painting or hand woven craft or even a food product. And so they can get feedback, and this could probably help them to launch into some type of full time entrepreneurial venture.
I was just informed by my tech that the images of the both of you are not on. Can you put on your cameras, or you were just skipping it that way, that form, that way, that style? For social media, we normally have our guests shown live on Facebook and YouTube. That sounds better. That looks much better, man. That looks much better.
Yep.
Of course, man. This looks much better. Let's get a view of the ECCB. What lessons from these festivals can be scaled regionally to strengthen the OECS wide creative economy?
So different lessons that we can learn is that we can really collaborate with different partners. And not only that, we can learn from each other. So there are several relatively similar music festivals happening throughout the region. So we have the Cape Music Festival, and we also have the St. Lucia Jazz and Art Festival. One of the key things, for instance, that Lucia would have done is that they would have extended the length of their festival, and they would have also extended it from simply a music festival, and they would have pivoted to show more culture, and that way they would have given creatives a greater platform, right? So they would have extended the festival from just a typical 3 days. I think right now the festival takes about 10 days. And, that's a really great opportunity for the country, because the longer people are in your country is the larger the economic benefits of that. Is the greater the multiplier effect going to be, the more VAT receipts we will receive, and it's just more income and more currency circulating throughout the economy. So that is potentially something that the Dominica festivals may pursue incorporate. We also have a very unique product through our Tea Village Creole, or previously known as Creole in the Park.
Absolutely.
Which is very unique. So that is something that potentially St. Kitts Music Festival or St. Lucia, they may want to incorporate. We hear Prime Minister Gonzalez speaking about the potential creation of a music festival in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. So there is room that we could learn from each other. I think just recently, St. Lucia announced a grant for the creative. So we could learn from each other in terms of policy-wise, as well in terms of the support that we lend to each other. So definitely there is a lot of room to collaborate, and there's a lot of room where we can continue to grow our sectors individually, but also regionally as well.
Do you know any specifics about the grant that St. Lucia is offering? By chance?
I do not know the specifics of that right now.
Oh,
Just
okay.
accept to say that I think the grant is extended to both new as well as experienced creatives, and it goes up to a total of 10,000. They can
10,000.
access a max of 10,000.
Okay. And then beyond entertainment, how can heritage tourism, science, traditions, and storytelling be developed as a growth sector?
I think it's important for growth sectors. We need to be intentional about it. I think as of right now, we tend to treat the orange economy as a pastime. We tend to treat it as a hobby, and that really limits its impact to garner economic revenue or really assess the economic impact of it. And so I think Dominica has a very rich culture. We have a very unique culture, and we don't particularly advertise it as much. So even in terms of WCMF, we tend to advertise WCMF in isolation compared to advertising our Creole Day in terms of advertising, as I said, Creole Day part. We can really group these things and encourage persons to come for an extended period of time, not just WCMF, but for the whole week of activities. And I think our independence celebration is so vibrant that it's so vibrant, and it varies from the other islands that I experienced thus far. And I think a lot of people would be attracted to that. And I think too, it has something for everyone. So it has the persons who are interested in food. It has the persons who are more interested in dance. It has the persons that are more interested in parties. And so I think we need to be more intentional with our marketing. Another thing we could do is to delve more into experiential tourism. So people are more likely to remember things they do compared to just things they see. So if it's a case where we offer dance lessons, where we teach people our traditional dances like the ballet and quadrille, that would be interesting. Or learning how to make a sensei. I don't know how to make a sensei. So I think those are very interesting activities that people would love to be a part of, compared to just the traditional, come to WCMF and experience it. We can take it further, and I think by being more intentional with our marketing and adding more value to our product, that is when we will really see people embracing it and taking it to the next level.
Because globally, heritage tourism is $1 billion sector. And I think
It is.
we should really be cognizant and follow what's taking place and be ready because we have all the natural resources to move to that level.
I agree.
Absolutely. By the way, we are in a special. We have head across to St. Kitts and Nevis, and we have two very special young people with us, young economists down at the ECCB, the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank. Stephanie Pascal, the sister of the captain of the West Indies under 19 cricket team, Stephen Pascal, and Risa Findley, and actually giving us some information as we kind of collate the information. WCMF at 25 is a special edition where we're looking at a holistic project where Dominica can actually really move to the next level as we continue to actually expand as a country and an economy. What role can you think, and that is where I'm getting more comfortable, what role can you think the Creole language and traditions play in creating sustainable tourism products and deepening economic value?
Okay, so these are my perspectives, but I'd also love to hear what you have to say on this question as well, because as you said, this is your wheelhouse.
Yes.
But from my point of view, I think one of the key ways we can expand Creole is one, ensure the transfer of knowledge. A lot of young persons do not know the language. I personally don't know the language, despite the fact that my parents speak it fluently.
Yeah.
And so we need to be mindful of that in terms of ensuring that our language do not die. Other countries in the Caribbean, I think Grenada and
Yes.
also Saint Vincent as well, they used to speak the language and um, they unfortunately no longer do that. So I think we need to be cognizant of that and safeguard towards that. But I also think as well, we need to make Creole fun. So potentially we could create a Creole library or museum, and in that place, I mean, it doesn't have to be anything grand. I remember when we went to the World Cup with my brother, one of the activities we did is that we visited the house that Nelson Mandela lived in.
Yeah.
And they really just, it wasn't anything grand to say it was like a major thing, but it was impactful because it was a lot of history and it was a lot of culture in that small space. And so the government or whoever is responsible, they would have maintained the structure. And I think too, we can do something similar. Currently, I think we only have one museum.
Yeah.
I could be wrong. We have one
Yes.
museum
For
located in
yes.
Bayfront.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
But we don't necessarily have a Creole museum or Creole library. So I think that is potentially something we can look into. But I would love to hear how you think we can.
Well, I'm aware of discussions being held in a particular community about the Creole village, and that is in Grand Bay as a community that has really excelled in culture. So basically, when the visitor would have arrived in Dominica, they would be able to head across to Grand Bay and get everything Creole from where food, drink, the cuisine, everything. And very instrumental in
Right.
Grand Bay, there are quite a bit of musicians and cultural technocrats who have really excelled. Go way back from Matutu was the best belly dancer on the slave plantation. Go way back to now Chubby, Philip Mack, Michael Henderson, Issa Banton. All these are from Granby area. But then the history on the plantation, the revolution, that sort of thing. So there have been discussions in that direction. But I'm interested to find out from Risa, are you aware that at one point in time you spoke Creole in
Um,
Grenada?
so, so I certainly did not grow up speaking it. I mean, I heard my grandmother speak Creole, but I must admit I do not know it very well. And it's sort of like a dying language in Grenada.
No,
So it's really not been
are there any
in a
areas? Are there any areas in Grenada presently, as we speak, that communicate in the language?
Not that I'm aware of. No, like I said, it's really dying out. It's dying with our grandparents, and yeah. So it's not widely.
But why you think no effort was made? Because I am seeing a concerted effort by the Trinidadians. Because I'm not sure if you are aware that the Trinidadians also spoke the language. As a matter of fact, most of the calypsos from the early days were in Creole. And that's mainly because quite a bit of them came in, over 10,000 came in from Haiti. So they spoke the Creole in Trinidad. They are now trying their best to resuscitate, and that's because they understand how important heritage tourism is, the language. Do you think there's any hope of you resuscitating the Creole? I mean, would you be interested as a young person to speak the language?
Certainly. So yes, it will be a great opportunity for us to learn an alternative language where we can, we can communicate. And so I think it's maybe something that I can take back to the country as a suggestion to sort of revive that language. But yeah.
But of course, because there is St. Lucia who could assist, Dominica who could assist also, and you could get closer across. Because right now, the language can be studied at the universities in Guadeloupe and Martinique, and one can attain a degree in Creole studies. And how wonderful it would be, the both of you, apart from the rest of your other colleagues, could have a nice conversation in Creole. That should be fun. But then in terms of initiatives, can the heritage and language initiatives help strengthen OECS ties with Martinique and Guadeloupe, particularly in tourism and trade? What do you think?
Most definitely. I mean, right now, the major source market for WCNF is from the French Antilles.
Yes,
So
that's correct.
really Martinique, Guadeloupe, and even St. Lucia as well. That
Yes.
is predominantly because of the shared culture, but also because of the ease of access through the ferry service. And so that's another thing as well. How easy it is to get to Dominica will also play a major impact in how this festival continues to grow. And so if we have more, direct flights, that could potentially serve as an incentive for more persons to come to the festival. But speaking more specifically to the Martinique and Guadeloupe ties, I think we have done a good job by our continued collaboration with the artists and with their creatives. So they are constantly featured on our lineup. Even in terms of how Bouillon is becoming more popular, I know quite a few of our Bouillon artists have collaborated with some of their artists. And that type of collaboration, that type of working together, that is really what is going to continue to strengthen the ties between us and our French islands.
But then how can we, I mean, get that across the entire OECS, that sort of collaboration relationship, that sort of networking? What do you think?
Yes, it's continuing to happen. I mean, we see again with the popularity of Bouillon, we see that everyone is really trying to hop on our train right now. So quite a few of our artists have collaborated with Trinidadian soca artists. So I think Gael Trilogy would have put out a song with Nyla.
Yeah.
And so that type of collaboration, like that's a great start. But that type of collaboration is really what's going to take the industry further. Because as I would have said earlier, is that we really need to share resources. It makes no sense for us to try to reinvent the wheel. If, as we all know, Trinidad already has a very robust entertainment sector, and so learning the trades through them, learning the business aspect of it, that is also very important, and that will
By the way,
allow us to continue to thrive in our
absolutely.
own industry.
But by the way, what sort of impact our bands created at the St. Kitts Festival? We know Signal Band. We saw the images, but in terms of being on the ground, what sort of impact our bands created at the St. Kitts Festival?
For sure, it was a great impact. I think a lot of persons were not pleased that they were so early. They wish they would have gotten a more prime slot, but as always, we know our artists never fail to impress. And so they put on a riveting performance that was enjoyed by many. I enjoyed it
What about
personally.
Risa? Risa, did you enjoy Signal Band? Are you a fan? We know you are
I
well in
wasn't there for
we know you are well into
not
your
sure if I
jab
was.
jab. But are you are you a fan of Buyo? We know which is similar. They are very close, jab jab and Buyo music. And have you been enjoying our music? I mean the Buyo music?
Honestly, I've heard it, and it's quite enjoyable, yes. But I'm just getting familiar with it. So yeah,
You still give the edge to your jab jab.
yes, to that.
We have seen a loan facility for individuals to participate in carnival, example, to play mass or attend festivals, but rarely for musicians and performers who are the foundation of these events. How can the financial system begin to bridge the gap?
Okay, so I think we do have a long way to go in terms of that, but I think we have already begun to bridge this gap through institutions such as the Eastern Caribbean Partial Credit Guarantee Scheme, because through their partnerships with banks and credit unions and even development banks, they sort of enable the financial institutions to lend to the creatives who may otherwise lack the traditional collateral or the long credit history that's required to access the traditional loans.
Because this is critically important. Stefani, any thoughts on this? Knowing how vibrant our music is in Dominica, and such assistance could really go a long way.
For sure, I agree. I think too, we need to improve financial literacy and inclusion in the sub-region. And again, that's one of the things that we being ECCB, that's one of the things that we are working on. We would have done a survey back in 2022, and we found that, the results, the financial literacy is relatively low. People are not necessarily aware of the
Can you
products.
just explain, Stephanie, for our listeners, what do we mean by financial literacy?
So financial literacy speaks to attitude, behavior, and knowledge. So being aware of the different financial products we have, recognize our attitude towards spending, budgeting, and then just necessarily how we interact with these products. Because it's one thing to know these products, and then it's another thing to actually utilize it. And if we don't utilize it, then it's really to our disadvantage. Building on that, I think another major thing we need to do is that we need to formalize the creative sector, because the reality is that banks are governed by certain rules. As much as we would love to assist, or as much as we love to extend credit, um, we need some level of financial history. We need some level of collateral, which I mean, yes, the ECPCGC will assist with, but you still need that level of collateral. You need that history of showing your income. And so I think it's very important for creatives as well to differentiate their personal self from the brand that they're trying to create. So Dial John Baptist should be different from Trilogy. Naren Murphy should be different from Trendsetter. And so if you are serious about your craft and taking yourself to the next level, then you need to already start putting things in place so that when you are ready to procure that loan, the banks would more be willing to work with you. They would be willing to assist you in that regard. So I think formalizing the creative industry is a key critical step in accessing credit and equity.
This is Creole Heartbeat, and we are live in on DBS Radio Facebook page and YouTube channel. And in case you're wondering, we are actually having a lovely conversation with two young economists from the ECCB. And very importantly, one from Dominica, the other from La Grenade, the Spice Isle of Grenada. And Stephanie Pascal, that's the sister of Stefan Pascal, the daughter of Benno Pascal, and Risa Findlay. I wonder if she have any relationship to Michael Findlay, but from St. Vincent. Okay, what opportunities can be created for musicians and creatives to access affordable financing through special loan products, credit guarantees, or revenue-based models? Did you hear the question, Stephanie?
Okay.
Okay, great.
Yes. So in terms of opportunities, I think that is where the banking sector should be more creative in terms of the products that they offer. And so I think it's a great opportunity, particularly in Dominica, as we've seen, again, like Booyah has really taken off. And so I think that is a new niche market that the banking sector could potentially explore. They could look at offering differentiated products to all creatives, because we've seen that it can be a money-making business, that we've really seen that it's no longer, okay, musicians work their 9 to 5 and then in the evening they're in the band halls making music. We see that people, this is their livelihood, that this is what they're focusing on full time. And so I think in that regard, the onus is really on the banks to really try to get on that and see ways where they can extend credit to these musicians.
Absolutely. And could the orange economy benefit from tailored loan schemes where intellectual property, performance contracts, or streaming revenues serve as collateral?
So I would say yes, the orange economy could definitely benefit from these tailored loan schemes, because the traditional loans may not be best suited, for the unpredictable nature of artists' income. But I think there's a challenge there in terms of how do you value intangible assets. For example, how do you assess the value of an artist's catalog or a book's long-term royalty, right? So there is a need then to develop some standardized methodologies to value intangible assets, such as intellectual property. So we have some work to do there.
Absolutely. You wanted to add anything, Stephanie?
Not particularly. I think Risa answered that question very well.
Okay, in terms of, let's say, how can ECCB, commercial banks, credit unions, and fintech solutions shift their view of creatives? Very critical. Shift their view of creatives from entertainers to entrepreneurs and invest accordingly.
So it's important that shifting the perspective of the financial institution in terms of just how they view the creatives, not just as mere entertainers. They have to recognize them as legitimate entrepreneurs that are providing economic value. And of course, this would require a shift not only in the financial institutions, but also in the way that the artists themselves operate. They need to see themselves as entrepreneurs. Right? So familiarize themselves and understand concepts as cash flow, intellectual property, business planning. All of those things are important. And again, I will put a plug again for the ECPCGC because, the commercial banks and organizations such as the partial credit guarantee should continue to innovate, right, with flexible and accessible financing solutions that reflect the reality of the creative sector.
Excellent. How do we move toward a financing ecosystem that places equal confidence in musicians as we do in festival goers, empowering artists to grow, export, and sustain their craft?
I think that is going to be a multifaceted approach. I think each party has to play its part, right? So one, as I would have said, the creatives themselves, the artists themselves, they need to do their part in, firstly viewing themselves as entrepreneurs, not just entertainers, but recognizing that this is a business and doing the necessary to put things in place. I think the banks can do their part to continue to offer differentiated products, work with the artists, recognize that, sometimes, especially for us in the Caribbean, if you're looking at it just locally, entertainment is relatively seasonal. And so if it's a case where we recognize that into the business model, that is something that the banks can look at. I think the government has to play their part in terms of potentially offering more grants to this sector, creating policy to empower this sector, and even in terms of data collection, I think that's a very, very critical aspect of things. As Risa would have said previously, a lot of the data that we currently have is on an aggregated level. We don't specifically have access to data for solely WCMF or solely Mass Dominic or solely Jazz and Creole. And so I think if the government or Dominica Festivals Committee pay closer attention to collecting data, not just in terms of, metrics could be not just in terms of tickets scanned, but also look at different metrics that look at the indirect impact of WCMF. So hotel and transport, restaurants, those various sectors. So that way, when we are able to do economic impact assessments, they will be fully quantified economic impact assessments. And it can give us a greater information as to the extent that the sector is growing, which will then trickle down into the impact of decision making of the banks. And then even us as a CCB, I feel that we have a part to play as well, especially for us here in the research department, conducting research into the creative economy. That could be something that we add to our research agenda in a way so that we can formulate more data-driven and research-driven policy to then assist our member governments. So it really is a holistic approach. The entire financial ecosystem have a part to play if we are serious about moving the sector.
This is a special Creole Heartbeat program, and we are with two young economists from the ECCB, Stephanie Pascal and Risa Finley. Let's move across to technology and future growth. How can digital platforms, streaming services, and online marketplaces be better leveraged by OECS creatives to reach global audiences?
For sure. I think the beauty with social media in particular is that there are no boundaries. And so our artists can leverage this platform, particularly social media platforms, to get their music out there. I actually believe that was how we would have become so popular. We would have created the different TikTok challenges, and that would have increased our exposure, which would have then trickled into the amount of streams and in terms of their level of booking. And so utilizing social media not just as a fun tool, but using it as a marketing strategy, that's very, very important.
Excellent.
I'd just like to add something here as well, if that's okay.
Yeah.
I think additionally, the Ministry of Tourism can partner with like popular American and British game and talk shows, like Beyond All Family Feud, to award vacation packages to winners, for example, to come and visit one of the islands to experience like an all-inclusive trip to one of the festivals and so on. So that could also be a way to get our name out there as well.
Yeah, and I think recently I think that's one of the collaborations that um we have ongoing. I think for the last carnival, I would have seen a lot of collaboration with various airlines.
Yeah.
So give away two free tickets. And then it was a collaborative approach as well. So they would have gotten free accommodation. I think they would have access a few tickets to different events. So initiatives such as this is it's useful. It's very good.
Absolutely. What role do you see technology and innovation hubs play in preparing creatives to compete internationally?
So I think technology and innovation hubs serves as a really important space for the creatives to work on their craft, to receive mentorship as well from specialists in the field, and to collaborate with each other, to network with each other, to exchange ideas with other creatives, and just build their network in order to drive their business forward. So it's really a good testing ground for creatives before launching on a national, regional, or even an international scale.
Excellent.
So they do play a very important role, yeah.
Yeah.
Vision and strategy. Where does ECCB see the orange economy in the next 5 to 10 years? And how central will it be to regional growth?
Okay, so we the orange economy, it really is at the space where it has a lot of potential to grow. But again, it will not necessarily get there if we don't take intentional steps to ensure that it gets there. And I think that's the case with a lot of things in the Caribbean. We have so much potential. We have so much resources. Well, that's arguable, but in the instance of Dominica, we have a wealth of natural resources,
Yeah.
right? So we have a wide, for instance, access to hydro electricity, like water. We have a wealth of water, and we don't necessarily capitalize on it.
Also, geothermal coming soon.
As well. So, and we don't necessarily capitalize on it. And so, where we see the orange economy in the next 5 to 10 years, it could be great. It could be this robust industry that is well functioning, fully professional, or it could be where it is now. And that is really dependent on what we do in the next 5 to 10 years, the amount of data that we attain, the amount of policies that we implement, what is the direction of the government, are they going to invest in this sector? So with the orange economy in the next 5 to 10 years, it's to be determined.
Absolutely. And then what regional, international, and diaspora partnerships was needed to expand the creative industries?
I think for sure lots of collaboration. So, for instance, Saint Lucia had this truck during our carnival on our road, where they were promoting their carnival as well as promoting Bounty Rum, which is their alcohol. I think even in terms of we would have done something similar here. So Emo News was here in St. Kitts during their carnival celebration, and a few other representatives from Dominica Festivals Committee. This is encouraged. More of this collaborative effort. I think during the whole wealth of summer carnivals, Dominica should be utilizing this as a marketing ground. So WCMF should be launched already, and we should be at St. Lucia Carnival, we should be at Grenada Carnival, we should be at Vincy Mass, pushing our event and continuing that type of collaboration.
Grenada
So
jab,
that's regional.
Grenada jab. We should be there also. Is she aware? Are you aware? We see that we have something very similar that we call Black Devils in Dominica, where we maybe Stephanie can explain it for you, but it's a part of our culture. It's a part of our culture where you darken your body similar to what you guys do for the jab jab, and it's a spectacle. But then
Yeah.
they also have some whips that they lash across the various platforms, including the streets, which could get quite a bit of the young children scared. Maybe you should visit. Maybe you should visit. Risa, maybe you should visit Dominica for our festival and for our carnival, man.
Definitely need to do so. I need to experience it.
Absolutely. And let's fast forward to the WCMF 30. What specific success story would ECCB hope to highlight about the orange economy in regards to WCMF?
Okay, so my colleague earlier in the discussions, in terms of specific success stories, she spoke to some of them already in terms of completion of an economic impact assessment, because we would like to get data. Data is a powerful tool to help the policymakers and the investors, channel their resources appropriately. So that's something definitely. But we also need to take some concrete steps to formalize the sector, right? And it may entail, for example, creating a national registry of entertainment and creative industry practitioners, as was recently done in Jamaica. Or Grenada has also made some strides in terms of the Ministry of Tourism has commissioned a study to inform a development plan map for how to go about developing the sector. But in addition to those, we'd also like to see some diversification within the orange economy itself, right? So despite the impressive revenue that we generate from the festivals and all of that, realistically, those revenues, they're seasonal, right? And so therefore, we would want to see sort of efforts ongoing to channel investments, not only in the festivals, but also in the other sectors that subsectors that make up the orange economy. So the dance, theater, the fashion, film, all of those sectors we would also want to see develop.
Anything to add, Stephanie?
I think Risa did a very great job. I will add, however, is that the ECCB recognizes the role WCMF plays in economic prosperity and development, the opportunity it gives to the local people. I will always tell people it's not necessarily the direct impact of the show. So yes, WCMF may make a profit or loss, but the multiplier effect that ripples throughout the economy is really the major win in hosting this event. So the opportunity it plays our local vendors. For me personally, with my father being in the tourism industry, WCMF was a great opportunity for him to get extra jobs and to create extra revenue. And so it's very important to look at it not just from a macro perspective, but look at it for what it does for the layman and what it does on the ground for the people. I think that's something very important to highlight as well.
And 25 years ago, the WCMF was positioned as a driver of tourism arrivals and foreign exchange. And as we celebrate this milestone, what is ECCB's view on the funding vision today, on the founding vision today, and how do you see WCMF and other festivals, jazz and St. Kitts Festival, shaping the orange economy and tourism in the years ahead?
Again, I think it plays a great role. It could potentially play a great role. Again, it depends on how we really take ownership of this industry and how much we nurture it. It is a new sector, and so it allows us to diversify our economy. Oftentimes, we talk so much about diversifying our economy, and a lot of people not necessarily sure what that means. By extending the orange economy, that is a great opportunity to diversify the economy. And so that way, we're not so heavily dependent on tourism or strictly ecotourism. We can also look at different aspects that, the economy can still succeed basically can still thrive instead of just strictly tourism, which we know is highly vulnerable and highly susceptible to negative shocks.
Excellent, young ladies. I really want to thank you for the opportunity. First of all, I want to thank you for actually accepting. Before we actually leave, though, Rissa, I'm not sure if you have anything to add to our lovely discussion, and we will end with Stephanie, the home girl.
Is it specific to the question you just asked, or?
Well, question and overall as we wind down.
Okay, sure. So I would say that the WCMF is really seen as an important driver, right, for tourism services and foreign exchange. And it does create some positive spillovers into other sectors because it intersects in arts with technology and business, and it fosters innovation and ultimately long-term economic growth. However, with the rising importance of the creative economy and the island's increased visibility on the global stage, we would like to see more benefits accrue to Dominicans through the safeguarding of the patents and copyrights and trademarks and so on and other forms of intellectual property. So we do see it as an important opportunity for creatives to compete on a global stage by encouraging them to improve on the quality of their offerings and so on.
So, are we confident that you will be heading that Creole thrust in the Spice Isle, Rissa? Are you Are you confirming? Are you coming? Are you confirming to your sister island, part of the Windward Island, part of the OECS, part of the Francophonie, because you were once colonized by France? That Grenada, you're going to be at the helm of maybe a reincarnation, maybe a rejuvenation, maybe a renaissance of the Creole language. It would be very good that we, at some point in time, we come together, St. Lucia, Dominica, Grenada, and even Trinidad, to assess where you are and see how we can assist each other. But we'll be looking forward to you heading that department. And maybe look for and maybe try get the funding. Maybe try get the. What are you saying, Stephanie?
With your wealth of knowledge, you should lead the call.
Well, yeah, I'm doing what I have to do for Dominica, but then we need somebody in Grenada, a Grenadian, who who understands how important heritage tourism is, and is becoming to actually lead, and they'll get the necessary support. But anyway, we got the confirmation.
We have institutions such as the Office of Creative Affairs, so that may be something they might want to take under their wings.
Final words, Stephanie, as you round up, and I know you would want to tell your family hello also. I am very proud of your eloquence, I must say, and we know that you are an ACE student, very blessed, and we are really proud of you and what you have achieved. We also want to say hi to Valder, Henry, and the entire team out there. What final words as you depart?
I want to thank you first of all for the invite. Not just on my behalf, but also on behalf of the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank. We are very, very grateful for the opportunity to interact on the ground with people and to educate people in terms of what we do, what we're here for, as well as the different initiatives that we are working on. So I'm very grateful for that. As a Dominican, I am very happy that we are having these types of discussions, and I think that it should be extended to other sectors as well, where we can learn and just have frank conversation as to the challenges, the opportunities, so that we can develop and we can be better. It was a pleasure being here and to have this discussion. WCMF is an event I hold dear to my heart.
Will we be seeing you this year?
To be so
Jubilee year 25 edition, 25th edition.
To win, it's a win.
It depends on whether he agrees. That's what we say. Bye bye. Once again, really want to thank you from Creole Heartbeat. I really want to say thank you from Jerry Williams, myself, Julie Roberts, for really getting this connection together, because it is very important that we continue that collaboration. That it's so important that we educate ourselves on the institutions around us that represents us. And I must say, I was really happy that you did an excellent job. I guess Valda will determine whether it's an A or A plus. But from my side, you got an A plus. And I really want to thank you, and looking forward to hearing much more from Risa Findlay and the Creole Heritage in Grenada. So Risa, Findlay, Stephanie, Pascal, thank you very much. And may God bless you.
Thank you.
Okay, this was another Creole Heartbeat program, and just before we leave, we just want to say that you could try to get our third edition of the Creole Heartbeat newsletter as we get people ready for the Jubilee year, our independence celebrations, and among the various topics you can read on the Manioc Festival and Honorable Kozia Frederick, the Kalinago Chief Annette Sanford. You can also read a special feature on Val Coffee, on the renaissance of the World Creole Music Festival and the vision beyond the stage. Also Sonia Akpa, Madam Sonia Maglo Akpa, and Washla Gregory Rabes, and so much more. We also had the crowning of the three-time football champions Dubla and our sports section. Mama Kayol, Ophelia Laguadam de la Chanson Adiez, the world's greatest kings in terms of dance Calypso. Midnight Groovers, also our ambassador to Martinique, Mark Frampton. This was another Creole Heartbeat program, and we really want to thank you and thank DBS Radio for the opportunity. And let's hope that you can continue to make sure that we excel this beautiful rock. 289 square mile gem to the pinnacle of prosperity, over to 40-year-old broadcaster par excellence, one of the greatest ever you will hear in the Western Hemisphere. And we continue to pray that the Father will continue to bless, guide, and protect him, the slim and dynamic Stephen Dangleman. Take it away, my brother. God bless you.
For all the wonders you done for us all, spreading the culture all over the world. For all the good things that you done for God, that's what makes. We thanking you, brother.